Hey everyone, thanks so much for tuning in to this week's episode. This episode is a throwback, actually, to episode number 3, featuring one of our all-time favorite guests. That's right, Kristy Sumner, the paranormal investigator. So if you are new to listening to Fresh Mix and you haven't had the chance to listen to some of our older episodes, well, now's your chance to at least hear one of them. Do not judge our audio quality. We have since upgraded our microphones, so go easy on us. But yeah, please enjoy this throwback episode featuring the one, the only, Kristy Sumner.
The Florida Podcast Network, the voice of Florida.
This is Gerard with episode number 3 of Florida's Fresh Mix on the Florida Podcast Network, a random mix of Florida's freshest personalities. This episode is brought to you by our amazing launch sponsor, Mainline Marketing.
Hey there, this is Amber, the production assistant for the Florida Podcast Network. And of course, I'm here with your host, Gerard. And Gerard, I am so excited for another fun conversation, especially because it's with paranormal investigator Kristy Sumner.
So first of all, when I heard that I was going to interview a paranormal investigator, I was like, okay, so people actually do this. I've seen it on TV and whatnot, but to actually interview someone that does it, I thought I was going to be talking to a crazy. and I'm a skeptic by nature because I'm a nerd. I base my opinions on facts, how my brain interprets those facts, and how my gut reacts to those facts. So after having done my diligence and watched a ton of their videos of their various investigations, I was really looking forward to speaking to someone that's actually living that life. And I was not disappointed.
I was on the same page as you when she reached out to us, actually. And I was like, paranormal investigator from Soul Sisters Paranormal? Sounds weird. But we decided, you know what, let's give her a call. Let's pre-interview her.
I had a reaction to Soul Sisters because when I think Soul Sister, I think like my sister, all my Black friends in college.
Mm-hmm.
but I love the play on words that they had.
Yeah, absolutely. And I talked to her for about 20 minutes or so, and she was just incredibly passionate about paranormal investigations. And I got to be honest with you, Gerard, it was one of my favorite conversations I've ever had with a guest or a source. And it was only the pre-interview.
Yeah, I mean, this is clearly her zone. This is her bailiwick. Her bailiwick is trying to find evidence of ghosts. I mean, it's just as simple as that, but she takes it very seriously, and she and her sister are very clinical about it. And I did not expect the seriousness of it.
Yeah, sometimes during your interviews, Gerard, Jaime and I, we will text each other and say something like, hey, this is going really great, or I love this conversation. And we were definitely texting during this interview because she just really unpacks a bunch of information about paranormal investigations. And it's definitely one of my favorite conversations that you've had, Gerard.
Yeah, no doubt. It's fun. It's super interesting. It makes you think about many different things. I will address some of the more serious aspects of it in my fresh take. And then there's also the aspect that she does this with her identical twin sister, and we talk about that in the interview. And so there's just a lot to unpack here, like you said.
So to our listener, like on the last couple of episodes, you will hear again a difference between Gerard's voice now.
Here again is my voice now.
And Gerard's voice in the interview, which, of course, we recorded a while back. And I'm again using the same model of microphone that Gerard used for his interview with Kristy. So you could probably already hear the difference in sound quality between my mic and Gerard's brand new Shure MV7 provided by Mainline Marketing. The quality of sound from the Shure MV7 is just so much more superior.
I'm so happy that I can give shout outs to a sponsor that I really, truly believe in the product. The difference is so palpable.
Absolutely. And with that, let's get right into Gerard's conversation with paranormal investigator Kristy Sumner.
Kristy Sumner, how are you today?
I'm great, Gerard. How are you doing today?
I'm doing fine, Soul Sister. I think it's very fun to say that. I don't know whether the proper, if there's a politically correct jargon for what you do. Is it paranormal investigator? Is it ghost hunter? I don't know if you're offended by Ghostbuster. I don't. So why don't you tell me what we should call you and how you came up with that great name?
Okay, absolutely. So paranormal investigator works. We don't so much bust ghosts, so Ghostbusters is probably not the right term to use, but paranormal investigations is what we do. We are Soul Sisters Paranormal. And the way we came up with that name was this team was actually formed by myself, my twin sister, our younger sister, and then two female family friends. So technically we all are sisters for the most part, so Soul Sisters. And then we just go around the country to historic and haunted locations looking for paranormal activity. So it just kind of fits, as you said. It's one of those things that we kind of were tossing around some names and one of us tossed that out and we just ran with it.
I love it. So you founded the company in 2014. Jenny is your twin sister. Is she fraternal or identical?
We're identical twins.
Even more interesting. So I guess this is common belief that twins, particularly identical twins, have some kind of psychic connection. And now we're talking about something in the psychic, well, not necessarily psychic, but the paranormal, spiritual world. Has having your twin sister by your side been helpful in any way?
Mm-hmm. And I'll just say that my twin sister and my younger sister are my best friends. So to be able to go with them on this journey is just an amazing experience all the way around. To your specific question, yeah, Jenny and I really do have a very strong bond and connection. And so we're able to really look at each other and know what the other one's thinking. We've always had a very strong bond, a very strong connection. Some will call it psychic. I wouldn't go that far. And I don't think we're empathic per se. But there have been instances where I can know what she's feeling and vice versa. For example, we were in high school and I was attending a high school function. It got out really late at night. So it was probably like 11:30 at night. And Jenny did not go to that function. So Jenny was home and I was driving home and Jenny just got out of bed and started getting dressed. And my mom, she came out and she's like, what are you doing? Why are you getting dressed? And she said, I'm getting dressed because I think Kristy's going to be getting into a car accident tonight. And
wow.
I did. I got into a car accident that night. So this was really before the age of cell phones. So I had to, try to track down a payphone and just kind of say that I had been rear-ended, but Jenny was already on the way. Things like that are kind of commonplace with us. Again, I wouldn't call it so much psychic as it is just a very strong bond.
So apparently you guys have both been interested in paranormal activity since you guys were kids. Bring me to the beginnings of how this all started.
Okay, absolutely. So, we actually grew up watching paranormal television, Ghostbusters, Ghost Hunters, Ghost Adventures, that sort of thing. And when we would watch the reality television shows, we would say to ourselves, why didn't they ask this question? Why didn't they spend more time here? Why didn't they do this or that? And so what we really wanted to do, if we told ourselves, if we ever had the opportunity to conduct a paranormal investigation, we were really going to come at it from a scientific standpoint. The interesting thing about everybody on our team is we all hold advanced degrees. So I've got a PhD, right. Jenny has a PhD, we've got two lawyers and then a master's holder on the team. So we really wanted to come at it from a research-minded perspective. So we all live in different parts of the country and we would routinely get together for girls' trips. And in 2013, one of these girls' trips was going to be in Moundsville, West Virginia, which is where the Moundsville Penitentiary is. And the Moundsville Penitentiary is one of the most reportedly haunted locations in the country. So
wow.
Coincidentally, we had a family friend who sat on the board of that penitentiary. And when he found out we were going to be up there, he said, why don't y'all come and stay the night in the penitentiary and see if you can run into any of our resident spirits. So we decided to take him up on that offer. And it was a very rudimentary investigation. We had a couple of night vision video cameras. We had a couple of voice recorders. And we left that experience with what we felt was such compelling evidence that we really wanted to delve into this further and visit historic locations, tell the narrative of those historic locations, and then couple that with any paranormal activity that we could find. And so that's really how Soul Sisters started. We came up with our name, we came up with our logo and our theme music, and really started producing some videos that highlight those experiences.
Wow, that's amazing. So it kind of sounds like, in a way, you always had the passion and the sincere interest in this area. I know it's your part-time gig, but you guys are clearly engrossed in it.
We are, and thank you for noticing that. It is something that is self-funded. We do take what I would consider large-scale investigation trips, probably 4 or 5 times a year. And it was one of those things where, after we really decided to do this, it was never meant to be anything that really went above, beyond our family scope, if that makes sense. So my family started asking, what was it like? What did you experience? What did you find? And that's really why we started putting together the videos, is because we wanted to share that experience with our family. family. And, we started posting them online, and the interest in what we do really started to grow from there. So now what we feel we're doing is, again, giving our audience the opportunity to really go to these historical locations with us and really get the narrative of these historical locations, and then follow us along on our adventures in the investigation, because we feel highlighting the historical perspective of these locations that we go to is the most important part, because not a lot of people will probably get to experience them as we do. I'd say probably about 2 or 3 years ago is when it really started to take off, and we started gaining what I would consider a modest following on Facebook and YouTube.
What kind of equipment do you use? I know you've got the recorders. I've seen the night vision. Is the equipment much more extensive than that? And how did you kind of learn what you needed?
Well, it really kind of progressed with each investigation that we do. So the very first thing that we do when we go to an investigation is we'll take a day tour, and we'll really scout out locations that we want to leave that what we call stationary equipment. So there's night vision cameras and those voice recorders, but we also want to get really a lay of the land with regard to environmental factors that could influence that investigation. So street lights, noise pollution, anything that we can really control for as much as we can, that when we say, we hear this or see this on the video or on the recordings, we can rule that out as being paranormal, right? Those are environmental factors that we can explain. We look for that during the day tour. And then when we do the investigation during the night, we do have various pieces of equipment that we will deploy. So again, those voice recorders, we've got 10 of those. We've got 12 night vision video cameras that we leave in various parts of the locations. We have equipment that's normal everyday use equipment for various industries, but that have been modified for paranormal investigation. So for example, we've got a device called a K2 meter, and this was made for electricians to find power in places, like an electrical outlet or something behind a wall. But it's been modified for ghost investigations, because the idea is that the spirits that we communicate with are made up of energy. So if we've got this K2 meter in a room where we know there's no power, theoretically it should not go off. But when it starts going off, that's compelling to us. We have a device called a spirit box, which is an AM/FM radio that's been modified to very quickly sweep through frequencies. So when you turn it on, it sounds like as it's running through AM and FM frequencies. The idea being that spirits can use the white noise to communicate with us, to actually say words or phrases to us. We've got some other pieces of equipment of specialized cameras, one called an SLS camera. If it perceives a figure or a human figure in a room, it puts it as a stick figure on the screen. So even if there's nobody in the room, physically, if it perceives a spirit in the room, we can kind of see it on that display.
How do you guys end up deciding on a location, or does the location decide you? Do people approach you? Do you do some research and you say, hey, we'd like to check this out, or is it a little bit of both?
It is a little bit of both. So we actually have 2 types of investigations. The first one is what I call commercial investigations. So these are places that are large scale, like the Stanley Hotel or Trans-Allegheny Lunatic Asylum, the West Virginia State Penitentiary. These large locations that tout the fact that they have a haunted history, a haunted past, a haunting present, and really welcome ghost enthusiasts to visit those locations. For the majority of our investigations, we will have the entire location to ourselves. So we either pick those and go to them, or in some instances, they'll call us and say, hey, we really like the Soul Sister approach. Can you come and investigate our location? Really to kind of highlight their history and their location. So we've done both of those. And then we've got private investigations, which is where a business owner or a homeowner will call us and basically say, hey, I'm not crazy, but can you come and investigate my place? Because I think there's something paranormal going on.
I know this might sound like a simple question, but I'd like to see your answer. What exactly are you looking for, if you had to define it?
For us, we're really looking for that evidence that something happens after we die, right? That when we end here, we continue on. And if you believe in the premise that humans are made up of energy and energy cannot be created or destroyed, we have to go somewhere. Now, we do have a religious background. We all are Christians. So I do believe that there is a heaven after this, but I don't believe that ascension to that next realm is immediate. I believe that there are some instances where a spirit, for whatever reason, is either given the ability to hang around or is either forced to stay around. And that's who we're communicating with. So when we go to a location, we work on the premise that the things that we're trying to communicate with, those spirits that we're trying to communicate with, at some point had a human existence. They had that human experience. And for some reason, they're still stuck here, or they're allowed to communicate with us for a reason. And that's really what we're looking for.
Well, one thing that really kind of jarred me in watching some of your videos was when you asked someone, who's your president? When you ask the co-spirits, who's your president? And they say Lincoln.
Mhm.
I mean, I jumped back in my chair. I mean, it's jarring.
Mhm.
You guys didn't seem phased at all.
Well, when you really delve into this and you go into these locations at night and you've got your equipment set up, for us, it really becomes about the exploration. It becomes about just being in that moment and really trying to communicate with whatever spirit is in there. And now I'll say that there's been moments where we've been startled. You just can't sit in a dark room and hear a door slam and not be startled. But we've never run out screaming or anything like that. And a lot of the evidence that we capture, for the most part, a lot of it we don't hear in the moment. So, for example, we didn't hear that Lincoln in the moment. It was when we went back and listened to the voice recorder that we actually found that we captured it, which again, to us is extremely compelling. So our stationary equipment really does a good job of picking up those sounds or those voices, or in some cases, the cameras will pick up shadow figures or objects moving that we don't necessarily see in the moment. Now, on the flip side, we have had instances where we will be sitting there and my name is being called by a male voice when I know that there's no men in that area or even on the property that night. I'd say about 75% of those things that we capture on stationary equipment, but then, the remainder is things that we actually hear and see in the moment.
Hello, this is producer Jaime, founder of the Florida Podcast Network, here to thank our launch partner, Mainline Marketing. Great equipment can make the difference between an ordinary podcasting experience and one that is immersive and inspiring. The sound quality produced with the Shure MV7 podcasting microphone is simply far superior to other options on the market. The voice isolation technology will help you sound great, even when you're not in an expensive studio. Gerard records his podcast sitting at the glass-top dining table in his apartment, and you would have never known. But not only is the sound quality simply unreal, but the Shure MV7 podcasting mic is very easy to use with 2 output options. So whether your show format and setup call for you to plug your microphone into the USB port right on your computer or to use it with an XLR cable into your mixer, you'll find the setup is easy. The Shure MV7 sound quality is top-notch, and it's easy to use, versatile, and also looks really great for your social media shots. So thank you again to Mainline Marketing for providing this wonderful opportunity for Gerard to level up his podcasting with the Shure MV7. Having won over 40 various achievement awards, Mainline Marketing has been the go-to audiovisual manufacturer's industry rep since 1987. They can be trusted to bring you the best. Visit mainlinemarketing.com today and partner with them. And be sure once again to check out the MV7 podcasting microphone from Shure by going to shure.com. That's SHURE.com. Shure, turning a passion for making great microphones into an obsession.
Now, I'm sure you've anticipated I'm going to ask you what has been the most startling or shocking thing or handful of things that you've experienced. I'm sure there have been many. I saw some of them in the video you did for Paracom, which I'm assuming is kind of like Comic-Con, but for paranormal investigators. What stands out to you as the most shocking?
I'll give you 3 examples. The first 2 actually occurred in the same location, and this was at the Exchange Hotel in Gordonsville, Virginia. And this was a hotel that was pre-Civil War, and it was built in Gordonsville because that was a main train line through that area.
Mm-hmm.
And so this was an elaborate hotel. It's 3 stories. It was really, posh for the time. And during the Civil War, it was recommissioned into a Civil War hospital. So there were over 750 deaths, verified deaths that occurred within that hospital of both Union and Confederate soldiers. And so then after the Civil War, it was reconverted back into a hotel. So when you go in there today, they've got half the rooms set up as they were as a hotel, and then the other half are those Civil War hospital rooms. So there were 5 female investigators on this investigation that night, and 3 of us were in the house, 2 of us were outside. And so we had a voice recorder that we had left stationary on the bed in one of the rooms that was set up to look like the hotel. So there are 3 investigators across the hall from this room, but nobody is in this room at the time of these captures. At about 2:00 in the morning, we had a male's voice that we captured, and it said, "I don't know, I'll be back at 4:30." And that was the complete phrase, which is extremely compelling because, again, there are no men anywhere in this building. And then about an hour later, we captured a child's voice that says, "Hi, this is my bed," which again is extremely compelling because it was actually like it was talking to the voice recorder saying, "Hi, this is my bed. Why are you on my bed?" And then we were at Brushy Mountain State Penitentiary, which is in Petros, Tennessee. And this was a maximum security prison. It was built in 1896 and it was in operation until 2009. It was a really bad place for these prisoners, right? It was extremely violent. So there's a lot of claims of paranormal activity in this location. So there were 5 of us there that night. It was myself, my twin sister Jenny, and our other investigator Kim. And then we were on a collaborative investigation with Miranda Young from Ghost Biker Explorations. So it was Miranda and her camera guy Josh. So there was 5 of us. And we were all inside the gymnasium and it was pitch black. But what we had done is we set up a couple of items in the middle of the gym that had their own light arrays on them. So we had a glow in the dark balloon. We had a couple of handheld pieces of equipment that had like red indicator lights on them. So very minimal light in this room, but the things that were in the middle of it, you could see quite clearly. We were back about 15 feet where we were in a semicircle around this equipment and we're just asking questions, trying to get a response. And I see a shadow run from my right to left and it darts across and it cuts off my entire line of vision from those things in the middle of the room. And at the same time, Miranda is holding a camera, which is called an SLS camera, which I described earlier. It displays an anomaly as a stick figure on her screen. So at the same time, I see the shadow figure, the SLS camera picks up an anomaly and the camera guy just happens to be filming it. You can hear me say, "Did you all see that?" You can see it appear on Miranda's screen. And then as Josh pulls the camera up to focus on the items in the middle of the room, the shadow figure runs back left to right and again cuts off, and we all saw it. And it cuts off all of our lines of vision. So I have no explanation as to what that shadow figure was because there was nothing else. There was no one else and nothing else in this room. We had complete control of the environment. And so, again, extremely compelling instances that I have no explanation for. That is what really keeps us going in doing these investigations.
So, Kristy, let me ask you, is it safe to say that you're a believer in that there is life after death?
I do believe that there's life after death. Again, because for me to think that we just close our eyes one day and we cease to be, to me, that's kind of frightening. You know, I do think it varies from spirit to spirit or soul to soul. I don't think everybody that dies becomes a ghost or becomes a spirit in this realm. But yes, I do believe that there's life after this death. Yes.
Now, remind me whenever I see the initials EVP, I think Executive Vice President. So when people see your videos, please remind me what EVP stands for again.
It's called it's electronic voice phenomena. So basically, it's some type of electronic equipment like a voice recorder or a night vision video camera or a body camera that picks up a noise or a sound that we either hear or don't hear in the moment. So, for example, the man and the child at the Exchange Hotel, those were 2 very compelling EVPs, electronic voice phenomena. The electronic equipment that we had running picked it up.
So you've been to dozens of places. I saw it from your website. Have you ever come across a place where you literally got no EVPs, no signs of anything?
Yeah, there's been several instances like that. You know, I would say that probably 80% of the locations that we go to, we capture something compelling, whether it's footsteps or a voice or a door slam or something like that. The remainder, that extra 20%, yeah, there are times where we've gone and it just hasn't really been our night per se. We won't say that this location is not haunted because we didn't capture anything, but we'll just say this wasn't our night. We didn't capture anything that we felt was compelling. But even if we don't capture anything paranormal, we will still produce a historical video of that location because we think the history is really what drives what we do. So to be able to tell that historical narrative of a location and really present that to our audience, as well as the paranormal, that's our driving factor here.
I want people to understand that this is your part-time gig. You're doing it as a quote unquote labor of love, and you do not get paid for this. So please, I want people to understand this is pure passion. Explain to me what you mean by labor of love.
Well, again, for us, it is one of those things that we're following a passion for history, for the paranormal, and for storytelling. And to be able to have these experiences that, again, not a lot of people will have the opportunity to have, if we can create a sense of wonder, a sense of exploration in our audience, that's really what our driving factor is. You know, if we can help preserve some of these locations that people might not even know about, I think that is really our main goal. So that's really what I mean by a labor of love. Also the fact that I get to do this with my sisters. You know, we get to travel to these amazing locations and have a very tactile experience with that history that we read about or we research. So not many people can say that they've stayed the night in, you know, the St. Augustine Lighthouse or the Villisca Axe murder house or, Malvern Manor or something like that, but we can say that we've done that.
Well, it really comes across not only in this interview, but also just the attention, the precision, the quality of and the production of your videos, and the time it takes to not only go to the site and produce the videos. It really looks super professional. They're extremely intriguing. I mean, I could see myself, watching these on any reputable cable channel. You guys do a great job. So the passion definitely comes through. Because this is a labor of love, you guys still have to, you have your part-time gigs. And I know that you're a property manager. Mm-hmm. So is there any interplay between your part-time job and your other job?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, we'll drive down the road all the time and say, oh, I bet that's haunted, or I wish I could get in there because that's haunted. And I mean, there's been several instances where we will call a homeowner and say, hey, this is who we are. This is what we do. Will you allow us to get into this house or allow us access to these houses? Because we never trespass. Will you allow us access to this property or to this house that, may be abandoned? Again, one, to tell the history, and two, to see if we pick up anything paranormal. And a lot of people do respect us for that because, again, we're not going to trespass or anything like that. So I think all aspects of our background really have culminated in this really cool, part-time gig, as you call it, from our research background to, the criminal justice background that we have. It really has led to this really cool
PhDs. Correct. Correct. I can brag for you. Go. It's fine.
Thanks. So it really has led to this really cool experiences that we can have that really utilize a lot of our background and a lot of the aspects of our personalities.
I could talk to you forever, but unfortunately, we've got to wrap it up. But before we go, I just wanted to make sure, do you have any events or announcements that's coming up with you that you want to promote while you're here?
Absolutely. So we actually have several speaking engagements that we will be at. We'll be in New Mexico in October at the Las Cruces Paracon. I'll post the links on our Facebook page so anybody can listen to that. We have several investigations coming up. We'll be in Milwaukee in May. We'll also be speaking at Henry River Mill in North Carolina in October. We'll be at their Booze and Brews event. All of that information can be found on our website at www.soulsistersparanormal.com or on our Facebook page under Soul Sisters Paranormal or on our YouTube channel under Soul Sisters Paranormal. So anytime you want to just look at those and come out and see us, that we'd really appreciate that.
All right, listen, Kristy Sumner, I really appreciate it. This has been great. I wish you much success in the future, and I hope our paths cross again. I'm gonna pay attention and see where this journey goes for you guys.
Thanks, Gerard. And if you ever want to go on an investigation with us, let me know. You're more than welcome.
Don't make promises that you're not willing to keep, because I'll take you up on that.
All right, let's do it.
All right, thank you so much, fellow Floridian.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Well, I hope you all were as fascinated by that interview as I was. And for my fresh take today, I don't want to sound too serious. That interview was so fun, but I can't help but express where my mind went. My mind went to kind of the purpose of what they do, which is to kind of find proof that there is life after death. And it reminded me of when I was speaking to an atheist way back in the day. This might have been when I was in college. And they said something extremely profound that has always stuck with me, which is that religion was invented by humans because we're the only species on Earth that knows we're going to die. And I thought about that and I was like, wow, that's very powerful. Now, it didn't make me become an atheist. I believe in God. I really appreciate and have respect for everyone's beliefs. But this interview made me think about our fear of death and, what evidence do we thirst for that there is life after death? And what I took away the most is whether or not it's proof that there's life after death or not, who really cares? Aren't we on this planet to live our lives in the happiest way possible? And if we can find anything that inspires to believe that there is something in the greater beyond once we leave this earth, once we leave this vessel, then doesn't that reduce our own stress level, and doesn't it give us hope, and doesn't it allow us to live our lives in a better way? And that's why I think that there's an intangible value to what they're doing, particularly because they're approaching it from a scientific way, as far as I can tell, and trying to boost their credibility. Now, you're going to always find people that will think that Kristy and her sister and the people that help them are charlatans. It made me think of fake news out there, okay? So you have a lot of people that just put things out in the ether that are completely untrue, and they make their names from it. You know, like on one side, you might have someone saying, hey, what if the people that stormed the Capitol on January 6th, they weren't Trump supporters, they were Antifa. And then you have people on the other side are saying, well, what if Melania has a buddy double? What if? It's just a bunch of what ifs so that people can write articles. They're not even trying to be right. And at the same time, Kristy and her sister could try to make a name for themselves by just saying, oh, well, we heard this sound. What do you think? Could be this, could be that. But I love the way that they're trying to eliminate certain variables so that they won't be misinterpreted as paranormal phenomena. I like the way that she was upfront about, about 20% of the time, we don't find anything. We'll go to a place and we don't find anything. It's just the way it is. I'm not saying that I believe in the stuff, but I do find it compelling. As someone that's very evidence-based and fact-based, I found her approach to be compelling. And we need more of that. We need more fact-checking. We need people to put out the best version of reality and truth that they can, because especially when you're talking about a topic as serious as life after death, one of the quintessential questions of our time, bring it with facts, bring it with conviction, bring it with credibility. And that's what I took away more than anything else. So that is Gerard's Fresh Take. I hope you enjoyed the interview. Get ready for our next release coming soon. For details and show notes about today's show and our guests, go to freshmixpodcast.com. I'd really love your feedback, both on today's guests and on my Fresh Take. The Florida Podcast Network has a closed Facebook group exclusively for super fans of their shows, like Florida's Fresh Mix. Just search for FPN Insiders on Facebook and leave us comments, complain about the Florida, face-eating zombies on bath salts. You might be laughing, but that actually happened. Like on 395, right by my crib where I live, and that's a real news story. You can Google it. Only in Florida. Many thanks to our amazing launch partner, Mainland Marketing. You'll note again just how much better I sound now than I did on the interview. And that's because now I'm back on the Shure MV7 that they gifted me with. And it sounds so much better. If you're in the market for great audio equipment, be sure to check out mainlinemarketing.com or find their info in today's show notes. And be sure to visit all the great shows on the Florida Podcast Network. You can find them at floridapodcastnetwork.com. Keep catching who's fresh in the Florida mix with Florida's Fresh Mix podcast.